Okay, let's talk about an email that you may have received from Siteground. So, a little bit of background information. Siteground some time ago moved over all of their services to a brand new hosting server, which is more efficient. It carries a lot more benefits from us. It's a good thing. What they did at that point in time was they emailed us all and told us that they had moved everything and that we now needed to redirect our named server settings over to the new server so that all of our services moved to the new server. And whilst they were doing that, they kept both of those servers running. And so what we have been doing is basically we have still been running on the old server if we didn't take any notice of that initial email they sent to us. They sent us another email last month in April to remind us that the old servers, what they're calling the legacy servers, were going to be discontinued on the 31st of May this year. That's on Tuesday next week. So what we need to do now is we need to make sure that we have everything correctly pointed to the new servers. Otherwise, a lot of our web services might stop working and are very likely to stop working. That means your website, your email addresses. So it's important that you take these steps that I'm going to run you through, and they're really straightforward. They will take you a matter of minutes. So this is a screenshot, a partial screenshot of the email that you may have received from Siteground. So what they're talking about are the new named server settings that we need to use. And the thing that we need to pay attention to is this area in blue. Usually you will not need the IP address, which they put in brackets here. So we're going to be using ns1.siteground.net and ns2.siteground.net. Now I believe across the board these server settings are the same, so it's very likely that you will have been sent exactly these named server settings to use. So there's two ways that you can discover which server settings you're using, because you may have already carried out these steps when they first emailed you some time ago, and you might not remember whether you've done it or not. Really quick way for you to check is to go to something called the Whois records. It's who.is if you're wanting to find it. So one of the ones that I haven't yet changed is a charity site that I did some time ago for a concert that we organised, and so I'm going to go ahead and check and see if these have been changed. So I can see my registration is with Namecheap. Yours may be with GoDaddy or 123Reg or iOnis. It could be with anybody, but this, in case you can't remember who you registered your domain name with, this will tell you and it will help you out. It's going to tell you when it was registered, when it expires, and it also shows us our named server settings. So I can see that these named server settings do not match the ones that they sent me in this letter, which means that I need to take action. I need to go into my domain management and make these changes. So this was just a process for me to check. I could have also checked by going straight into my Namecheap account if I'd wanted to skip that initial step. So I've already logged in. I'm going to come to my domain list and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for that domain name. So here we have it, Music for Causes, and I'm going to click on Manage. Now, if you're not using Namecheap, your interface is going to look different from this, but the steps that you're going to take are really similar. They just may be in slightly different places. So you're going to look for a place where you can manage your domain name, and when it loads it, you're going to look for the named server settings, which you're going to see here. So we can see that this matches what we looked at on the Whois record, and we can see that we have the incorrect named server settings being used here. So I'm going to go over to the original email and I'm going to copy the named server settings that I need. So it's ns1.siteground.net, and then in this one it's ns2.siteground.net. So, and that's all I need to do to actually replace them, and then I'm going to hit save. So once I hit save, it's going to tell me that it's going to take a bit of time for these changes to take effect. So up here we can see DNS server update may take up to 48 hours to take effect. It usually happens much faster than that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the actual website itself and make sure that it's still up and running. So this is the domain name, Music for Causes. I'm just going to hit refresh on this, make sure that it still loads, which it does, and then I'm going to come back to this Music for Causes over here on the Who Is records, and I'm going to check it here. Now it's only been moments, I'm not expecting it to have taken effect that quickly, and it hasn't, so it's still here, it's still the old named server settings, but you can come back in a few hours and check that it has taken effect, because these named server setting changes need to happen before Tuesday, which is why it's a good idea to give yourself at least a few days. So if you can, the sooner you can actually process this, the better, because if it takes 48 hours, that's 2 days. So you need to make sure that this is all happening in time for when that actual changeover happens. So hopefully that's useful. It's not difficult for you to do this. Make sure that you get it done. The one small caveat I have is that if your email services and your website services are hosted in different places, there may be different steps for you to actually go ahead and take, and you should reach out to whoever your host is for both of those providers to make sure that you're taking the correct steps. For most of you, I would say 99% of you, you will be hosting your email addresses and your website on Siteground. So if you receive this letter, so it doesn't matter if you already know that you set up your email addresses in Siteground and that's who's processing your email addresses, then you're absolutely fine. This is the process you need to go through. If you already know that your email addresses are being processed by a different provider and a different host, then you will need to take some different steps. So you will need to reach out to whoever is hosting your emails and ask them what those steps need to be, because you will need to change things like the MX records. Okay, that's it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend.